Slow and steady wins the race, right? While GNC is sleeping mid-race, the Vitamin Shoppe has consistently pushed ahead one slow step at a time. So tossing a classic Aesop's fable into a nutritional supplement retail quarterly earnings breakdown takes a little bit of creativity. So would appreciate if you guys did give this video a like. On June 18th of 2020, the Vitamin Shoppe's new parent company, franchise group, did finally release their 2020 quarter one earnings. And I also listened to their conference call, which actually had most of the insights, things that you guys are going to be most probably interested in if you are a stakeholder within the functional CPG world. And for those that might not be too aware of the Vitamin Shoppe one, but also who actually owns them and why do they own them, the franchise group did purchase the Vitamin Shoppe. It was originally announced mid-2019, but it officially closed on December 16th, 2019. So this is pretty new in terms of a company owned by the franchise group. And honestly, the franchise group is quite a new organization anyways. It's a holding company of a ton of different like consumer retailer concepts, franchise or franchisable concepts. But the Vitamin Shoppe is a nutritional supplement retailer. It's an omni-channel retailer that stocks vitamins, minerals, and supplements among some other kind of ancillary categories. I think it stocks around like 7,200 SKUs, so pretty big comparable to their main competitor, GNC, in terms of their store and how many SKUs they have. The Vitamin Shoppe are kind of really big on leaning into product knowledge, also on customer service. They believe that those two things are the foundation of enhancing strong customer loyalty. So mentioning all that, why the tortoise and the hare reference, both at the beginning of the video and on the thumbnail that you guys clicked this video on. Let's kind of jump into the 2020 quarter one Vitamin Shoppe specific sales revenue numbers. They had revenues this quarter of $275.9 million. That was only down 2.6% year over year. So not too bad, but I do want you guys to remember that this first quarter, because they are a little bit late, they had some issues with COVID-19 in terms of trying to compile their financial statements. Also, they had a bunch of transactions from an M&A perspective, the franchise group did. So they had a little bit of a delay in announcing this. The quarter one, in terms of a calendar year, or I think a fiscal year in terms of how they deal with it, is the end of March. So this doesn't deal with too much around the COVID-19 type of effect. But if we do compare the 2.6% year over year decline on the Vitamin Shoppe and we compare that to their main competitor GNC, you'll notice that GNC was actually down 16.3% year over year. But if we kind of drill that down a little bit just towards like their domestic store operations, GNC was down 13.3%. So regardless of how you look at it, the Vitamin Shoppe did outperform their biggest physical retail competitor. Now that being said, I think quarter one, because it didn't really have too much to do with COVID-19, it's not all that important. So I wanted to make sure that I did cover a lot of things around the conference call because that's where they did provide a lot of their information. The CEO of the franchise group did look forward a little bit in terms of quarter two. The best way for us to kind of break this down is to look at it from two sides of the coin on the omni-channel approach. So we'll look at the physical stores first, and then we'll move over to digital sales. Physical stores, out of the 735-ish stores now that the Vitamin Shoppe has within their fleet, at the peak of COVID-19, they had 90 store closures, but they also had a ton of stores, almost all of them, that did have limited store hours or had some restrictions on their business because of COVID-19. If you look at a total in terms of like same store comps numbers, this does also include a little bit of the digital. In Q1, it was only down a little bit less than 1%. I think I mentioned on a LinkedIn post when the franchise group did put out some commentary that was just letting people know that they were going to be a little bit late on the quarterly earnings. They did mention that they were going to be able to squeak out a small gain. When they were looking at numbers, I think that actually kind of brought it down a little bit. Now, just kind of taking the same store comps number and looking at it from like a physical store only, not any attribution from digital sales, the kind of the worst, the hurt of the Vitamin Shoppe in terms of the physical stores, that actually peaked in early April. I think it was down more than 20% on a comps number. That is pretty close to what you're seeing on a lot of the retail numbers in the April timeframe when everything was kind of locked down and across America, nobody was really leaving their houses. But they did say within May, that same store comp number did rebound to 2.8% down in May. Considerable improvement. I think now as improvements happen across the country, a lot of the states start to open up in some capacity now. You're going to see that number in June probably look much better if they can continue to message and focus on customers and what value they provide to the customers within the global health pandemic. And if you remember from the GNC video, and if you know the business pretty well, you know that Vitamin Shoppe, a lot of their store locations are in standalone or within strip malls, so it's not in traditional malls. GNC does have about, I think, 25 or so % of their stores within traditional malls. Those malls were closed, regardless if you were essential or non-essential retailer within the mall. You are closed for a considerable amount of time. So Vitamin Shoppe in this particular situation has a better store fleet, and that's why you're seeing probably a much better number because they were able to keep a lot of their stores open. But I also think there was a lot better communication that Vitamin Shoppe had with their customer base around some of the new kind of procedures or just making it easy for customers to understand that they can stay safe and still shop with the Vitamin Shoppe. So if that was, picking things up from the curb, was that contactless payment, whatever needed to be done, what I noticed in terms of messaging, be that through social media, through emails, through website communications, it seemed like Vitamin Shoppe did a much better job at communicating that in a very kind of simplistic way that could alleviate a lot of issues with some of the customer base at the Vitamin Shoppe. Vitamin Shoppe's customer base is, I think, a little bit older than GNC's in terms of a composition of sales. So you did need to deliver that information in a much different way than maybe a GNC customer. Now, moving into the digital sales part of this and where a lot of the action has been happening in terms of retailing environment, you did have digital sales that were up 12% year over year in Q1. That was actually much lower, I think by half at what GNC saw. I think GNC's number was somewhere around 24-25% growth year over year in their Q1. Vitamin Shoppe probably didn't have as high as a spike in March as GNC did. That number went up big, but that also might mean because there was a lot more stores that were closed on the GNC store fleet. The Vitamin Shoppe did also note that digital sales within April was up 34% year over year, so they were climbing up at that point. And if you look at just a number or sales number of how much digital sales comprise of total sales of the Vitamin Shoppe, in 2019, it only comprised of 14% of total sales, but as of early June 2020, that number is now trending in the low 20%. So considerable amount of sales increases that have happened and has moved over to digital, some because it needed to happen, others because natural evolution of where retail sales are going. Also want to kind of comment a little around the product merchandising side of things. The obvious kind of commentary for anybody that is selling vitamins, minerals, and supplements is that there's been a ton of attention towards immune support and general health products. And the Vitamin Shoppe is saying, we sold a ton of that stuff. So that's just kind of obvious. But I think comparable to GNC in this matter, because Vitamin Shoppe has a lot more SKU count, subcategory SKU counts, they have a lot more competitors and maybe some sub offerings and things within certain categories. Because of that, I think it helped them, one, have much more options. So I think that helped them comparable to GNC, but also if they had more product, the assumption is they were able to probably keep things in stock a little bit more because they had more vendors to kind of spread out a lot of that spikes. You had people that were kind of not seeing this kind of come. And if they did sell a lot of immune health or general health and wellness supplements, they sold out pretty quick at the beginning. And a lot of those brand manufacturers had to kind of backfill as quick as possible with the demand spike. But outside of that, during a Food Navigator USA webinar, the CEO of Vitamin Shoppe was mentioning around CBD and how well CBD performed during COVID-19, CBD has been a big focus for the Vitamin Shoppe. I think they're the first major national retailer to kind of lean in on it. Last time I saw, somewhere around 600 of the stores out of the 735 do stock CBD products. And she noted that CBD products that also had kind of like a dual intent to it. So if it was, maybe CBD with some ingredients that were around maybe stress, or maybe around anxiety, or maybe around sleep, all those things performed extremely well over just like a standalone product. I'm mentioning a little bit around the strategic retail partnership that I mentioned in the last video, the last update video with the Vitamin Shoppe. This was around them adding some kind of store within a store concepts at 10 LA Fitness gym locations. So these were going to be staffed by Vitamin Shoppe. They were going to be merchandised by Vitamin Shoppe. About a 300 square foot store within a store concept that they were extremely excited to get moving. That was announced, I believe, in late January. So obviously, a lot of things have changed. Gyms were closed across the country. You were not able to operate those store within a store concepts. But the update here is, and I looked on LA Fitness's website, out of the 10 locations that Vitamin Shoppe has, the store within a store concepts, 7 of them are open, and all of those are within Florida. Then the 3 that were closed are in the New York or New Jersey area. So they are able to kind of get that going again. I don't know, they didn't make any update on how those are performing, or if they're going to extend that partnership out further over 2020, or maybe re-look at it during 2021. I did want to mention, kind of transitioning into like the loyalty program, and this transition will make a little bit sense at the end, but I did want to make a small touch point because I believe the new loyalty program that the Vitamin Shoppe did announce sometime in 2019, I think did help them out during this time frame. There's a lot more personalization that went in there, a lot more bells and whistles, I think, comparable to GNC's offerings. Last, I remember somewhere around 90% of the sales are originated by loyalty members at the Vitamin Shoppe. And this isn't all that different than GNC. GNC is also very much driven towards the My GNC Rewards members. And why I kind of connected the strategic retail partnership with LA Fitness and the loyalty programs was that there was a mention, I believe, in the press release when they were talking about the store within a store at LA Fitness. And they were mentioning about LA Fitness members that signed up at the Vitamin Shoppe within those store within the stores. If they were a new loyalty member for Vitamin Shoppe, they were going to get an extra kind of 10% off. And I thought that's a really good like network effect, kind of a partner ecosystem, and started to make me think why they didn't do more of that both ways. Because why shouldn't Vitamin Shoppe loyalty members get 10% off a membership at LA Fitness or any of the other gyms? Because vitamins and supplements are a very small part of the overall health and fitness journey. Anybody that is embarking on one of those journeys, for whatever reason, they have some other needs. Because the Vitamin Shoppe is very specific in terms of wanting to address the needs of their customers and make sure that they're servicing them throughout their health and fitness journey, there needs to be some more integrations, I believe, to the loyalty program. And I'm mentioning that and knowing that it's a easy kind of question to ask, like, why are they not connected more into partnerships and ecosystems and things of that nature? And I know that it is a very big endeavor in terms of actually solving that problem. But I think it's one of those things that over time, if you're going to be building stickiness in terms of a retail experience, you need to be able to offer an ecosystem that keeps people in. The odds are they're not going to move into a media side of this. So then it comes down to how do you add, some type of connection with everything from a curated standpoint that somebody would need on a health and fitness journey. Now, just to kind of end up this video, I did want to mention around the franchise group's capitalization, just in terms of like the Vitamin Shoppe. And they did just make an announcement on a press release, I think at the beginning of June, around an early payment and some amendments to the loan for the Vitamin Shoppe. So they did mention that they were able to early retire or pay down about $22 million of the original $70 million term loan that they had when they acquired the Vitamin Shoppe. And they're actually saying that they're going to be able to make additional early payments throughout the rest of the year. That's going to get them down to about $28 or so million by the end of the year on this term loan. And they're saying, both. The performance of the business has done much better, but there's also some different cash infusions that have happened around some tax benefits on the CARES Act and a bunch of different things. But they're basically saying, hey, we want to repay this as quick as possible because it's going to save us in the long run on paying some of the high interest. If you guys have any questions around the Vitamin Shoppe or anything that's happening in the nutritional supplement retail world, please drop a question down below. Reach out to me on any of my social media. Would love to engage with you on this subject matter. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.